This is the glorious Series 2 Pro, a brand new 8000 Hz wireless gaming mouse with added lightness. This bad boy looks remarkably similar to the Model D2 Pro that I reviewed recently, with the biggest change being actually this dongle. Instead of saying 4K, it now says 8K. Okay, there are actually a few other differences, so let's take a look. This is a pretty high arch mouse. It's good for larger hands for sure, with palm or claw grips being best suited, and while this is obviously very subjective, it does feel pretty good in my hand. You've got plenty of space on the sides to grip, not that you particularly need to grip hard, seeing as how light this thing is, including space for your ring and pinky fingers and your thumb on the left, which is also where you'll find the nicely positioned side buttons. These are decently supported, they feel pretty good, nice and tactile, clicky, and are out of the way enough that you won't accidentally hit them, but are also big enough that you can easily hit them when you need to. Build quality is also good. It's a solid shell with no creaks or rattles, even with a fair bit of force behind it. Weight-wise, this comes in at just 55 grams, making it remarkably light. And yet, it's still a wireless mouse with a quoted 80 hours of battery life. I mean, at 1000 Hz anyway. At 8000 Hz it's likely to be lower, although with how nice the supported paracord USB-C cable is, and the fact that the dongle takes the cable in, meaning that it can stay on your desk, meaning you have easy access to it, I don't think that's too much of a problem. That does mean for laptop users that it's less than ideal having a long, permanently connected cable rather than a tiny dongle that can just stay attached to your laptop, but for desktop users like me, this is great. Sensor-wise, this is the glorious BAMF 2.0 26K optical sensor, which is a spec-for-spec match of the PixArt PAW3395, and the same one that you find in the Model D2 Pro, O2 Pro, and a bunch of their other mice. So it's safe to say that it's a pretty reliable choice. Naturally, it tracks well, both at high and low DPI settings, and feels pretty good. While I'm still working on the sensor latency feature for OSLTTCS, to the eye anyway, it doesn't seem to suffer from the same slow tracking latency that some of Glorious's older mice seemed to exhibit, at least before any firmware updates. It feels responsive, snappy, and like the smooth extension of your arm that you want a good gaming mouse to be. And speaking of the latency tool, which as always is available at osrtt.com, linked in the description, I used the peripheral testing kit to test the click latency at 8000 Hz, of course, and the results were a little surprising. It was consistently a touch slower, both wired and wireless, although both at 8000 Hz, compared to the Model D2 Pro that I tested literally last week. Not by much at all, 2.7 milliseconds on average with the Series 2 Pro, and 2.2 milliseconds on the D2 Pro wired at 8K. But there is a difference there. Interestingly, even the D2 Pro running wirelessly, meaning at 4000 Hz, well, that was only 2.4 milliseconds on average, making it faster than either the wired or wireless results from the Series 2 Pro. And yeah, wireless does add a tiny fraction and a touch more inconsistency too. These results aren't exactly deal-breaking or really super significant in the grand scheme of things, but I do find it pretty interesting. This could be from a bunch of different things, from the switches maybe having a tiny bit more pre-travel on this mouse, to maybe a power saving mode running it a little bit harder on this one with such a lightened mouse. But it is pretty cool that I can finally quantify these differences. As I said, if you want one, osrtt.com, I build them myself right here at home and ship them worldwide. Anyway, enough shilling my own stuff, back to the mouse. For actually gaming with it, unsurprisingly, it's spot on. For my hands anyway, it's pretty comfortable. It's really easy to grip, especially with a nice sort of subtle textured finish on the shell and sides, and of course it's lightning fast. It tracks well even with fast flicks and low DPI, and being so ridiculously light means not only do you get less fatigue after long flicking sessions, there's just less weight in your hand, making it easier for you to be accurate. Of course, there is a limit to how much that can help. Sadly, it isn't quite aim hacked, and I still kinda suck, but hey, I'll take all the help I can get. This is essentially a competitive advantage compared to 1000 Hz mice for sure, and I think outright it is just pretty decent. At £120, putting it at the exact same price as the Model D2 Pro and O2 Pro, it's also basically the same shape as the D2 Pro as well, so the fact that this can do 8000 Hz wirelessly might tip you over to this one. Although I would mention that the D2 Pro gets an extra set of glide pads in the box that help extend the surface pretty considerably, something that this Series 2 Pro doesn't get, although I must admit this glides just fine, especially on a nice mouse pad. And considering even at 4000 Hz the click latency was lower on the D2 Pro, maybe you should stick to that instead. Either way, these are all still pretty decent mice, and if you've got this kind of cash to spend on a higher end gaming mouse, well, I don't think this is a bad shout. If you're interested in checking this out and checking out pricing when and where you watch this, I will leave a global Amazon affiliate link in the description for you to check out. And otherwise, that's kind of it. If you want to see more videos like this one, you can hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon. You can also check out plenty of other videos on the end cards, including the Model O2 Pro and D2 Pro reviews, one video, both in the cards and on the end cards. And like I said, if you want to check out my own open source latency testing tool, head to osrtt.com, and that's linked in the description. Otherwise, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, we'll see you on the next video.